Future-based ideas development is one of my favorite methods to really ensuring that when you develop ideas, they are based on needs of the future. It will really create some very powerful ideas that has immense success with your colleagues, with your stakeholders. You know the days where it's just about making a brainstorm with many ideas or 1,000 ideas, those days are over. It's about really creating some qualitative ideas that are solidly founded in the future. It has 3 elements, this model. It's fairly simple. It's asking yourself when you create this idea, what is the new perspective? What trends does it have in society that is really underlying this trend? So it should be built on some kind of observations of society and some of these transforming tendencies. And then you ask yourself, is there any taboos? For instance, you cannot talk about selling clothes to fat kids, but you can see that we have globesity. We have more fat people than underweight people globally. But that would, of course, be a taboo, but it doesn't mean that we're not talking about it, that it doesn't exist. So taboos are great as well. So these are the new perspective. That's where the future come in. And if you're in doubt, use the trend cards and use some trends and ask your colleagues what trends are really supporting this transformation. Then it's about creating meaning and value. Why is it meaningful? Not to you, not to your company, not because you have some product lying on the shelf. Why would this really create something meaningful and valuable to your clients, to society, to the planet? What would make you really go home with the arms over your head and tell your family, we are creating this now and we are doing it because of this and this? So you need to understand your why. Why are you in the world? And what are we going to miss out here if you don't do it? Finally, it's your competences. It's the reality check. What sort of competences do you need in order to succeed with this idea? It's so important to be really honest here. Ask yourself, do we have the competences? If not, do we want to do the training it takes to get there? Or should we start hiring some new people who would fill in on this gap? But it's really, really important. I spoke to a service. They wanted to help people with crisis management, and they were talking about we really need a 24-hour service because people tend to go into a crisis in the middle of the night, and that's when our office is closed. And everybody agreed that the trend is, to be open 24 hours 7. But the reality check when we ask, do anybody want to have these night shifts? Everybody said, no, then I'm going to change my job. So it's really important to understand what would it take from you. And another good question would be, who would be good talking to in order to move to the next step? And remember, don't keep these ideas a secret. Share them, develop them with others. It shouldn't be a closed process. It's so important. Remember, people are extremely lazy out there. Nobody's going to steal your idea, but make sure that you future-proof it by testing it in different environments, by really asking people to help you improving it. What can be really helpful with that is to force yourself to be able to express your idea in minimum in 1 minute. You have 1 minute or maybe 2 minutes to express your idea, and then you allow 3 minutes to get feedback from whoever you're asking. So remember, shut up and listen to your feedback. Listen to the questions, the constructive answers. That is really, really an important way of moving forward with this. So to give you an example, let's see if we're looking for a great idea. The new perspective, that could be people are working from home due to new modern technologies. And actually, they don't necessarily want to sit in the living room, especially not when they are meeting up with other people. So suddenly cafes and other living spaces that has an air of not being as dull as an office and not being as private as a house, they are suddenly blooming. So you could say, well, if I want to make a cafe, it shouldn't just be a coffee cafe. I should really decorate it as it's semi-office a home away from home, using that development to create a new sort of environment for people to gather and meet, and of course understanding what sort of services should I sell. In Germany, for instance, there's a cafe like that right now, which has a lot of success, which is selling English courses every hour, as well as being a cafe, as being a meeting spot, as well as having extremely fast high Wi-Fi. So that's just one example. So why would it be meaningful for people? Well, because they need a place which is not in their office and which is not in their home, and maybe even an area where they also can have some IT support and other problems you run into when you're sitting alone with your office work. Reality check, what would it take from us? Well, if we are thinking in terms of traditional cafes, well, we need to understand something about Wi-Fi, we need to understand something about IT support. Should we have some language courses? Are there other way of making ourselves interesting? Should we have smart tables where people can make interactive plans? Other things that will create something unique for this value proposition. So you see that it's an ongoing process, and it's not something you can just read and then say, okay, then I can do it. You have to practice. It's just like juggling. You have these 3 dimensions, and you have to throw them up. You have to lose them. You have to discard ideas as well. You have to pick them up again and practice until you train this future-based ideas development muscle. But then I promise you, you will be so good at expressing your ideas. You will be so good at explaining why it's important to go ahead because of future developments. And if you can really explain what trends or taboos your ideas are built upon, you get a massive support, because then everybody can say, hey, that's a great idea. That's something everybody needs, isn't it? So start practicing. We have a lot of exercises below, and make sure that you train that muscle.